What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Schwen Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Schwen, here with my good friend, Ray. Ray, say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody. What's up, Schwinn World?
It is week 3 in the NFL season is almost over. I guess we got Sunday Night Football going on right now and a great Monday night matchup tomorrow. And 2 out of the 3 weeks, the Atlanta Falcons have somehow managed to still have a Super Bowl hangover 2 years later. It's absolutely unbelievable. Dan Quinn has got to be good as gone. Am I right?
I don't know if it's him. I personally think Matt Ryan. I mean, he's playing good, but this game he didn't play so hot. But I mean, Matt Ryan has to basically be able to move the football in the second half. I don't know what's going on. It seems like he's MVP first half, and come second half, it's just like, we'll get it done. You can't blame Kyle Shanahan because now they're doing the same thing without him. I don't know if Dan Quinn's not calling plays, is he, on offense? So it's kind of like, I think it's the personnel, not the play call.
It's interesting that Matt Ryan does kind of get a little bit of a pass here. Every time the Atlanta Falcons come up, it seems to be that we immediately point to Dan Quinn, just as I did. But the only reason I think Dan Quinn will be the hot topic right now is that there was talks of him getting fired last season before they turned it around. He saved his job coming to this season, and honestly, it looks worse than the beginning of last season somehow. I would rather see a team get completely blown out for 4 weeks in a row and then turn it around than to lose these close ones. I don't know. I feel like they're almost more demoralizing to a team as a whole than these, hey, you know what, that's a little rust at the beginning of the season. I don't know. It's probably the same argument to be had about both ways of starting bad, but one just seems like it would be way harder to come back from.
Yeah. I'm more concerned about the fan base, man. I mean, like, that's what they're known for now. Like, listen, my Broncos are just sucking right now. Your Steelers are doing great. Losing close games is one thing every once in a while. When you do it every single week, and it's like since the Super Bowl, and then you're like last year, it's just nonstop for them. They just can't get out of their own way. I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to fix it, and they're running out of time, in my opinion. You got Julio Jones for limited time. You got Matt Ryan, if he's the guy, if they decide it's him or not him. I mean, you're running short on time there, that's for sure.
Yeah, and they've kind of always struggled defensively, but that's the weird thing, right? It's almost like they're starting the games well defensively and then doing a whole complete 180. But at the same time, I don't know. I think that there's something to be said about the overall mentality that it brings. Professional sports is, how do you separate when you have so much talent, right? Like at the college level, what separates the college level from the professional level? Every single time, once you narrow it down, there's something about being able to perform in a certain type of situation or moment. And at this point, whenever you have a narrative that is that your team gives up big leads late in the game, that's in the back of every guy's mind. I don't care who you are. So if Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, maybe he's Matty Slushy, I don't know. But dude, at this point, that's got to be that they can't shut that voice off, and they better figure it out, or this Atlanta team is cooked. And they have a lot of talent, and I think that the offense could be special. But just like you point out, Matt Ryan might be, the problem. He was 19 for 38, 238, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Nothing to write home about, that's for sure. But then again, the game seemed locked up pretty early until the quarterback change by Chicago, which also looked like a bad idea initially because Foles came in, replaced Trubisky, and throws the pick right off the bat.
Yeah, I agree with that, and then we'll jump into that one. I want to say this about Matty Ice again is not just my biggest thing with quarterbacks is not just like how they're performing, but in my head, if I put them on another team, how successful can it be? I've always said if Cam Newton played somewhere else, he'd have multiple championships. Matt Ryan somewhere else isn't as good, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know that. I just in my head I can't put him somewhere else and be like, yeah, he's gonna be a world beater. But yeah, dude, Nick Foles, Big Dick Nick coming in and just, and that's another thing. Is it the competition they're playing? Is it the changes that these other coaches are making that's doing this? Because Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. He's not a slug out there. The dude can ball when he's got it on, but it's just not always on for him because you saw what he did in Jacksonville. I mean, he lost to Baker Mayfield on meth.
Yeah, he's Nick Foles is one of the most interesting guys. I don't even know how to evaluate him at this point because his career has been so up and down. I remember before he even came back to Philly, like originally he had that game, what, he threw like 7 touchdowns in a game or something crazy like that, and he seemed like he was primed to be a career starter somewhere, and then he went out and became some type of recluse in the woods or something, and then came and won the Super Bowl, and now he's just a career backup that comes in and is he like the next Fitzpatrick? Like, what's going on? Like,
I think he's the new Fitzmagic. I mean, it's just he's going to come in and take some of his job always, but never really do enough to keep the job. Never be the guy to earn it forever.
Yeah, you're probably right. But it's so what now that Nagy made this move, which is strange to say that they're 3-0. What do they do? Like, where do you go from here? I just don't like. Yes, you won the game and it worked, but like, where do you go from here? Because that now your team has no identity really. Like, you just stirred something up. Obviously it was looming, but game 3 to make this call when your team is undefeated just seems very reactionary and almost might cause, I don't know, a ripple effect.
Listen, you have to trade him. I mean, at this point you have to do something. You can't be like, oh, because if Nick Foles throws an interception, they're going to call for Trubisky to come back in. You have to get him off your team. I mean, I don't know who's calling him. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if he. I don't know what to say. I don't know what they're going to do if they're going with Nick in the future. I imagine after this game. With that said, what do you do? You have to get rid of Trubisky. That's the whole. I call it the Tebow effect. You can't have him sitting on the bench because people are going to call for him.
Yeah.
If he's on your bench, people are going to ask him to play as soon as one thing goes wrong. And that's you can't have Trubisky there.
You're totally right. Go. Yeah, I don't know. I don't trust Trubisky, dude. He's got like robot eyes or something. He's like, I don't know. Whenever I see him,
they're the next Steelers quarterback.
Yeah, get out of here. I loved they interviewed him afterwards, and they were kind of asking him. I love when they do this to quarterbacks. So what did you think about being benched, but like in a nice way? Like, and obviously the quarterback's not going to be like, yeah, well, fuck my coach. This sucks. But like, he's like, it's a tough situation. And he said, I'm proud of them getting the win. He said them. Like, it's not even his team anymore. Like, I'm proud of them getting the win. For a quarterback that probably needed the coach to instill more confidence in him, they just did the complete opposite. They're like, never mind. Actually,
he kind of seemed like he was happy not that he was benched up to a point. You know what I mean? He was like, well, hey, good for my team. They did a great job. Like, he knows this isn't my team anymore. I'm off this team. And honestly, if I'm him, I have value still, a little bit of value, but I have value. Trade me somewhere, anywhere, get me out of here. Because I don't want to play here anymore. If I'm not your guy, don't play the game where, oh, now Foles is hurt.
Yep.
And you put me back in. Like, don't.
Yeah. Is this the contract year for him?
For Trubisky?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he might have gotten paid.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We have to look up his details.
Look that up later.
We're not money guys. We're not really good with money. Yeah. Okay.
I'll take veteran minimum for Trubisky if he wants. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's true. Listen, we all know the Broncos are going to score like Matty Ice will probably be in, with the Broncos next year. I don't know. Whoever the next big armed white quarterback that's washed up, that's who's going to end up in Denver.
You're just making Flacco jabs.
I'm surprised that Phillip Rivers is not in Denver, to be completely honest.
If it wasn't for Drew Lock, he would have been there. I mean, I'm being honest with you. There's been rumors for years that he was since Peyton retired. It's been a nonstop of, I bet let's go out and try to trade for Phillip Rivers. Let's trade for Phillip Rivers. And he wasn't having it. He wasn't leaving. That was why they never traded him, is because he was like, no, I'm not leaving here. I won't let you trade me. So now they cut him, and he was like, good, I'm glad I'm out of here, because he has 20 kids, can't move them all. But yeah, man, speaking of Denver Broncos, I knew they were going to lose, but dude, they put some quarterback in, Brett Ripien. I can't even say it. Brett Ripien.
What?
Oh yeah, they benched Driscoll because he was so bad. And I'm thinking, and then the announcer sounded surprised. I'm thinking, like, dude, he's only won one game. He's played for two of the shittiest franchises in football,
Yeah.
in the Cincinnati Bengals and then the Detroit Lions. Why is he backing this up? Like, literally, Blake Bortles is over there on the sideline. I'm thinking, like, go get this dude his pads on. Like, this stuff. Like, in my head, I'm thinking, put his pads on. Let's go. Now, with that said, the kid that came in, Brett, came in. He went 8 for 8 and then threw a pick in the end zone. But, who knows what happens? We play the Jets next week. If we don't beat the Jets, we'll have the first pick in the draft. We're just not going to win a game. I mean, I guess Drew Lock comes back towards the end of the season. We'll win 5 or 6 in a row again and get the 15th pick after, and that kind of sucks. If you're going to suck and not make the playoffs, I'd rather have a top pick. I don't want to be in the middle.
Well, at the same time, it's hard to say what will happen this season because right now it doesn't look good for Denver with the injury situation, obviously. But maybe they just got a head start on the other team. So for all you know, their B squad's going to be in mid-season form when everybody else is just getting their B squad out there.
I was thinking about that after our last show because we were talking about most affected teams, stuff like that, and who's the biggest injury. I was sitting there, I'm like, my Denver Broncos were not a for sure playoff team, but they were a fringe playoff team. And they lost 8 starters. And not just 8 starters, they lost a Hall of Famer, and they lost 4 Pro Bowlers. Like, that's...
Yeah.
then 2 guys who should have been in the Pro Bowl who just weren't. It's kind of like, how do you go from that and even expect to win a game? So, yeah, and then we'll go right back to the Atlanta Falcons and talk about this real fast. That first COVID case of a player and how they handled it. What do you think, man?
Well, every time I see COVID news now and NFL associated, for some reason, call me a skeptic. I just assume that the NFL's lying. Like, I don't believe them at all. And do you truly believe that if any of the other people like had any symptoms and they just lied? Like, I feel like here's what the NFL does. They're like, okay, somebody tested positive. Fine. So then the NFL goes up and just asks everybody like, hey, do you have COVID? And then they're like, no. Okay. All right. You're good. Like, it's just like the old.
Feeling okay?
The NFL just, I don't know. They don't seem like the league that's really going to try and make a big fuss about things. Although they are finding coaches for masks and things like that. They're going to make it look good. Of course. They've been through this circus before. They're not going to have a concussion situation on their hand. But I don't know. It's just very interesting. Yeah. Like, I don't expect a huge breakout. I expect a player here or there, but I don't really expect it to be like, hey, the entire Atlanta Falcons team is shut down this week. And you know what? Something else I noticed today. Bleacher Report, I don't know if I'm sure other sites are doing this. It was very, very tricky. I got a push notification on my phone, and it said, Julio Jones tests positive, and like that was all you could read. And then I click on it, and it says, test positive on hurt hamstring in warm-ups. Like, what a dirty trick.
Like, if you got my fantasy, you're like, no, the damn COVID already? I got the number. I mean, that would be the biggest player to get it. Hey, you mentioned something. We'll make a hard turn here. You mentioned the mask and things like that, and I wanted to go over our Pats-Raiders game here. What do you think, man? Do you think the Raiders, this game, just gave all the adrenaline last week, or you think all the kind of COVID stuff, the fine, the unauthorized personnel being in the locker room, all that pressure, you think that kind of had its toll?
I think there's something to be said about the offense running through Josh Jacobs, because if they're not able to run the ball and do this John Gruden old school smash mouth football with, the quarterback, it just, he thinks it's 2001 forever. So if you can't run that offense, I mean, look at what Waller does at tight end. So if you can't do that, they take away Waller, they take away Jacobs. What do they really have? Because it doesn't seem like the receivers are there, or maybe Carr isn't there. I don't know what the problem is outside of this, but I am more than willing to chalk this one up as a New England mastermind plan to just be like, hey, we saw what you did with Darren Waller last week, and good luck this week, because it's not going to happen.
Well, see, that was a perfect opportunity for them to get Jacobs involved. I mean, he had 16 rushes, but if you watched it, he had nowhere to go, and then he got the ball thrown to him a couple times. Yeah, look, I'm looking right here. He had 3 catches for 12 yards. you got to get him more in the. He's got to get more than that. He's got to get more targets than that. Waller had 2 catches.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to get these guys involved. And if you can't change in the middle, in between quarters, if you can't game plan, then Bill Belichick's going to beat you every time. And like you said, he just had an answer. I mean, Cam didn't play out of his mind this week. I mean, he had 1 touchdown, 1 reception, 162 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And he only rushed for 27 yards. So it's not like
he wasn't doing anything spectacular.
Yeah, they didn't do anything special to beat them. It was a high-scoring game, and realistically, nobody was impressive. It was kind of a boring game.
You're
Not
right.
A lot of drama even. It was a game that they just won. They just happened to win it.
This is, I mean, for a score of 20-36, this is so new age NFL because the score looks like it was a good game, but let me just tell you right here why it wasn't a good game. Las Vegas leading receiver was Hunter Renfrow with 6 receptions on 9 targets. And on New England's side, it was Rex Burkhead with 10 targets and 7 receptions. So our game leaders in receptions was Renfrow and Like, what? This is garbage. Get this garbage out of my face.
I can't wait for them to get added in fantasy. People waste their waiver wires on these 2 guys.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, listen, both of those teams, in my opinion, are playoff teams. As much as I don't want the Raiders to make it, they'll get a wild card seed and they'll make it. And the Patriots are going to make it this year. They're going to be a playoff team because, I mean, they will have to fight with the Bills for that top spot. And I'm interested to see that matchup down the road a little bit because we'll make a hard pass here. Josh Allen, is he the MVP? I mean, I don't know. He's balling, man. I have to shut my mouth because last show I didn't know if they were the real deal or not, and they definitely put up. They are the real deal. With that said, they almost gave it back.
Yeah.
They almost said what I said and said, hey, this doesn't mean crap. They almost proved me right. However, they had that comeback touchdown, and it was all Josh Allen for 80-some yards, and he was an animal.
He looks really good.
So far as the MVP.
Him and Russ, yeah, it's 1-2 whichever way right now. Josh Allen, actually, also Josh McDermott needs to be. Yeah. I think people are starting to realize how good of a coach he is. He's really turned around that team. Him and Josh Allen, I mean, Buffalo's a legitimate team, I think, and Allen's just everywhere. I mean, what do you do? Like some of the passes he throws, I don't want to use, I guess I don't want to say Patty Mahomes-esque, but I will say Patty Mahomes-esque. It feels weird using Mahomes as a reference considering he's so relevant and newer. But
I think it's this. I don't like to say Mahomes, compare each other because, in my opinion, that's just this new style. Kyler Murray, they're all similar.
Well, let me finish my thought before, at least. I Patty Mahomes-esque in the sense of sometimes it's not the best, like, mechanically sound play. Like, it's almost like he'll make a pass, drop, off his back foot, turn cross body type deal, which normally you're freaking out, yelling, screaming, but he's got such a cannon. He can make up for that lack of mechanics and overcompensate with his just fucking hose of an arm. And that's why I think the Mahomes comparison happens in my brain because yes, these quarterbacks do play a lot different to your credit, but in this sense, it is literally just making a play off of pure arm strength. And normally that's, that used to be, you get benched for that shit. And now it's just the wild, wild west out here. And these guys are also doing it way more accurately than I've ever seen. So it's just a different generation of play. Obviously, the league is different, but man, some of these throws this kid's making are just phenomenal.
Yeah, I will agree with you. I'm going to get back to my point and say, like you said, I've seen these guys throw across their body and throw it, on the other side of the field, and you hear Troy Aikman calling the game. He's like, "What the hell? Oh, great touchdown!" I honestly think Pat Mahomes is the first one to kind of. Not the first one, obviously, because there's some guys that are around the same time as him. He was just started with the best team and then started showing what, these, I don't know, these West Coast kind of guys are. And
exotic West Coast.
Exotic West Coast dudes with these big-ass arms who can just throw it downfield. A lot of these guys are baseball players. Actually, Kyler Murray, baseball player. Patty Mahomes,
Yep.
baseball player. Josh Allen, don't quote me. I'm pretty sure he played baseball too.
People
Just
forget
based off the
that Patrick Mahomes' dad played baseball. They don't mention that
Oh yeah,
enough.
oh yeah. Listen, I'm not a fan of his Kermit Frog. He's an animal, but he plays for Kansas City. He's Kermit the Frog, and he's a rich kid. You know what I mean? Who had all the best training in the world his whole life. That he should have been a professional athlete.
But he could have ended up on drugs, like most rich kids. So there's the possibilities.
Maybe he is. Maybe that's why he's a cannon. You heard it here first. But no, I think it's a new breed, man. That's what people are looking for in college. They're looking for Patty Mahomes. They're looking for those guys. I'm hoping this year the narrative changes to Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Real quick, hard turn. Unless you got any more on this.
No, I do. I just was. I wanted to say also about I think it's never a bad idea when scouting these college quarterbacks to just take a shot on the guy with the huge arm. I mean, that's literally was the best draftable quality of Mahomes and Allen. Like anything, you can sling it, and if let's just say he doesn't become an NFL quarterback, you're going to be entertaining at least for a couple years. Like you could at least be like, hey, go throw it 45 times and let's just see what happens.
Jones. You might get a Cardell Jones.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, great arm, but couldn't get it together.
But you might also just get a guy that slings it. Maybe he doesn't become, a superstar, but it gives you a shot. It's at least something to go off of. So I don't know. And I also, this game-winning drive that happened was absolutely crazy. I don't know if you saw it at all, but there was the one was like 3rd and 25 to Beasley or something like that. 3rd and 20 something converted. Later in the drive, there was a 3rd and 20 something again. They didn't get it, but then scored the touchdown on the 4th down. So
that was a pass interference call.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, it was the pass interference, and then it went to the touchdown. Yeah, the pass interference, I didn't like it. I think it was a bad call. But whatever. It is what it is. I'm not going to hold that against them. That's not their call. It is what it is. But the Rams are. What do you think about the Rams before we move on? What are the Rams?
Listen, I had to while we were talking. I sat here. I had to look up because I made a bold statement. Said Jared Goff is a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. And I said something along the lines of, I don't know how to take him because sometimes he's MVP, sometimes he's a turd.
Yeah.
He was not a turd. I mean, he had 321 yards, 2 touchdowns, 23 for 32. I mean, and he shared the wealth. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys caught the ball from him. Of course, Cooper Kupp showed up. This was his best game of the year, obviously, with 100 yards. But, I mean, Goff can play ball, and so I think the Rams still have a shot. They have a good young coach who has that young offense. It's when they play guys similar to them is when a lot of these teams, like KC, Baltimore, when they play each other, things like that. It's you get these crazy ass games, and you're like, oh, football's not for defense anymore.
Right, but the Goff.
and then next week he might put up 10 points, and we'll be like, oh, what a great Rams game. And then the week after he'll put up 50 again. You're like, oh, there we go. That's the Rams we know.
Yeah, you're right. This Goff stat line's hilarious, though. 23 for 32, 321, 2 TDs, 1 interception. That is straight out 2005. He would have been phenomenal. You just plug him into, I don't know, one generic team in 2005, and he'd probably be great. Just put him on that, the Colts or something. I don't know. He'd probably, he would just be fit in perfectly. That is success for your quarterback. But in today's league, those numbers aren't anything fantastic. We see that kind of, average. That's just kind of the way the league evolved. The Rams, I will say this about them. They're resilient as hell. I do think that they're a good team. I like what they're doing in the running game, especially after losing Gurley. Henderson stepped up big time. So we'll see what they do. I don't know. Cooper Kupp's definitely got to stay healthy and keep delivering. Or, that's kind of, I think, the biggest caveat with that team. That's for sure.
Yeah, and they got to get their tight ends involved. And, they're finding different ways to win. Unfortunately, they lost this game, but they're finding different ways to win. And that's all you can do, just like we said earlier with the Raiders not finding different ways to win. They're trying to do the same things over and over again. They're not utilizing what's getting them there. This team is every week they have, the one game they had Higbee with 3 touchdowns, this week it was Cooper Kupp with 100 yards, they're fine. And in the run game, it's just they consistently find different ways to do it. And playoff team, in my opinion. We'll see how far it goes. They're a well-coached team. I mean, that's all I can say. Well-coached teams go a lot farther than teams who don't have good coaches, obviously.
Yeah, you're right.
Bold statement there.
Yeah. So let's. Speaking of well-coached teams, the Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll is a fucking good coach. I mean, it's like time and time again. Here we are. Seattle's a legitimate team, and I don't know. I feel like they've rebuilt this team like 3 times in the last 8 years, and here we are still talking about them. I guess you still have the center point of Russ Wilson, but a lot of new faces, and they're still killing it.
Yeah, but that's key, man. Having a franchise quarterback and sticking with his coaching staff pretty much similar, sticking with the same organization, the consistency there is good. And I mean, for 2 years now, they've had a lot of similar guys in there. But I would say this about his coaching. I think Pete Carroll's a great coach. With that said, he is not a good discipline coach. Letting DK Metcalf, who is an animal, who is always going 100%, catch a ball wide open. I'm only max having him in fantasy, but right there, going in for a touchdown, and is being a douche, gets the ball smacked out of his hands for a touchdown. I mean, like, how in the hell do you let this happen? Like, this dude is running laps. If you're, you know what I mean? Like, Mike Tomlin let that shit happen a couple times, and he's pretty much done with it. That's why you don't have that anymore.
Right.
And Bill Belichick is making Cam Newton run laps for fumbling. Like, you don't let this dude do that. So I don't know. We'll see how it comes out. Maybe he'll never drop the ball again. Maybe Pete Carroll will basically get on there. But I consistently see that with that team, with Richard Sherman and Legion Boom, how they would just get unnecessary penalties, and then week after week after week doing the same thing. They're a good team, and they're great play calling there, but the discipline, in my opinion, is just not there.
Well, you're probably right, but and Reggie Bush agrees, because if he would have been a better disciplined coach, he would still have his Heisman, maybe.
I love him. He said, "Take it, I don't give a shit." When they took his Heisman, take it, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
you can have it.
At this point, whatever. I banged Kim Kardashian and played for 7 different teams averagely, so yeah.
Everybody knows he didn't say anything about banging her, but I mean, that's a solid point. He did and a lookalike to her, and he's got enough money. He's all right. And his point was, like, you know what? It's not worth it to me. If you guys want to take it, everybody knows I want it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I didn't cheat.
Go watch that play wherever I put it behind my back going out of bounds and cut it back in. And then, like literally, that's all you have to do. Like, if you're Reggie Bush, like, you just show up for an interview. Let's say he hits the hardest Delonte West times, and you just, like, you can't survive. Literally, all you have to do is somehow, like, make a hat that has a little TV on it. It just keeps playing that replay over and over. Like, I did this one time. Like, this is it.
Give me $1. I need $1.
Hey, I'll show you something cool for $1. You give Reggie Bush $1, and then he just pushes play, and then it's just that highlight, because that was a really good highlight.
And he's, like I said, we're getting off topic with him, but I'm 100% with you. He deserved that Heisman. They took it from him, and it's Pete Carroll's fault.
Yep.
No discipline.
Yeah, way to go.
Speaking of no discipline, 3 interceptions for little man Kyler Murray today. I mean, I attribute to I have a hard time believing in short quarterbacks, just because I feel like John Elway has ingrained in me that we need 6'6" white dudes to throw the ball all the time. But
we were just talking about a really good short quarterback. This is a weird transition to make.
I know, but
an MVP caliber.
Kyler Murray is, like, really short, though.
Is he that much shorter?
I have to look it up, man. He looks little. He looks tiny. Like, there's Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, who I feel like are around the same size, and they're like, that was their biggest crutch, is being a little shorter. And then you look at Kyler Murray. He looks like a first grader, like, out there. He just looks tiny. I don't know if it's the color scheme. I don't know if he's just got really big linemen. But every time I watch the game, I look at him, I'm like, damn, he is little. Like, he looks little.
Okay, so he's listed at 5'10", and
he's lying. He is lying.
That's probably with the pumps on.
Yeah.
But Wilson's listed at 5'11", and that's probably generous as well. So they're probably not far off. Drew Brees is at 6 even. That's a fucking lie. You don't just
Yeah.
no. If you're 6 even, you're not 6. You want to be 6. You're not 6. You just wanted to say I'm 6 foot.
Listen,
Get out of
baby,
here.
I'm 6'4". I tell everybody I'm 6'4". Realistically, I'm like 6'2.5".
Dude,
Sometimes 6'3".
I'm like
if I'm feeling
5'6",
fit,
but usually I say like 5'9".
Yeah. If you just watch Kyler Murray out there, and he's really good. Like, that's a guy who I think is going to break that mold of being just a tiny dude out there. With that said, he struggled a bit today, and I believe it was vision. It wasn't anything else but just bad vision. And I don't know if it's being a shorter guy. I don't know if it's, you know what I mean? He's the Vern Troyer of the NFL right now, and I don't know if that's,
So what is there
making him lose.
Okay, so maybe is there I guess I don't know who the interceptions were intended for, but like when you're targeting one player, hyper targeting a guy with half of your pass attempts, that probably plays into it a little bit, right?
I would agree with that. I think that,
and he's not getting any help in the running game either. Drake has been awful this year.
Not as good as he was. Week 1 he was okay, but just real quick, you're right. I mean, Hopkins had 10 catches, but I think that was his security blanket after those interceptions. He was like, oh, there's Hopkins. That's the guy who's going to catch it. But they've surrounded him with talent. They had Isabella, who's a nobody. That's who caught his touchdowns. He caught 2 touchdowns by him.
Yeah. Which actually, that guy's he's pretty talented. I think he was a rookie last season.
He was a dude, and he got them both in the red zone, and they were greatly good coached red zone offense. They were right where they needed to be. The same play. It was really good. He passed. I'm looking at the things. He passed the ball around quite a bit, but majority of it was to Hopkins with 10 passes.
Yeah.
And for being as short as he is, I have to say one thing. There's not a lot of checks downs with him. Like when you look at like these littler guys, Wilson, their running backs typically catch a lot of passes. He had 3 passes to running backs. I mean,
yeah,
that's pretty good. Like I might have to take back what I said, but I still think Kyler Murray.
Love to the short guys. Screw you. Dude, you think you're tall and you're so tough, because you're tall and stuff with your height. You know what that leads to? Fucking leg problems, knee problems, and back problems. Yeah, guess what? I have a low center of mass. I'm hard to tackle.
I'm hard to tackle.
I'm the human bowling ball like
all right. We don't need the
MJD.
Stahl brothers in here trying to take each other down. We don't need to get into that right now. But I'll say this, man. Kyler Murray he's one of the. We have this conversation like, who's the next breed? Like, who's the next 5 guys that we're going to be talking about for the next 10 years? Mm-hmm. And I do think Murray will be one of those guys. And they surrounded him with talent this year. They went out and made a difference.
You've come the full 180 on Murray. I feel like you started this.
I'm saying he can't have games where he throws 3 interceptions. Like right. He can't do that.
But
when they surround, they're making him.
Okay, name one quarterback that hasn't had that game.
That had what game?
A 3 interception game. It happens to the best of them.
Hasn't yet. Drew Lock has yet to throw 3 interceptions in a game.
He's yet to play enough games probably to have that game
You're
yet,
right. You're right, but I'm saying this is like today was a game that he should have won. You have to beat the Lions. That's a game you have to have, and they didn't win it. And it's when you get surrounded with talent, and he has to be the leader out there. He has to have the best vision. And I want to make excuses for him because I think he's a good player. So I'm trying to say, oh, maybe it's because he's short and the linemen are too tall. But realistically, he just didn't have good vision today.
He didn't have a good game. Still a young player on a young team with a young coach. Like they're still work in progress.
They're better than they were last year.
And think about this also. 2 years ago, the season before they drafted him that's rock bottom for a team. So for them to even be talked about in the fashion that we're talking about them now is so much credit, especially getting a new coach, new quarterback, new everything basically, and losing so many key position players. So for them to even be in the circuit right now of conversation of like, are they a legitimate team, which I think they can make some noise this year. Like that is, hats off to them, because there's teams like, like the Cleveland Browns and the Washington football team, which we could talk about next, that have been trying to put it together ever.
We need about 30 seconds for this game.
There we go. That's why I like.
You made one statement that says, as long as Dwayne Haskins doesn't lose this game, He did lose that. He threw an interception. I mean, the game was a lot closer than the score, which is really bad for Cleveland. You should kill them. You shouldn't. That should not be a close game because they are rebuilding and they're open about them rebuilding. They have a good defense, but you should still be just mauling over them. 34-20. It was a really boring game.
It was 2017 going into the fourth. So like, so like Washington was winning going into the fourth. This wasn't a blowout by any means. Like it looks like a 14-point win, but Cleveland scored 17, and credit to them, they closed the game out. Yes, but I will say this about Cleveland. Wait, say something nice about Cleveland. They have really good running backs.
They have really good running.
Really good. And running defense. Their rush defense and their running game. They can, and guess what? This makes perfect sense with Stefanski. He's almost like the running back specialist, but
he is a what's his name? Gary Kubiak model guy.
Of
like,
running
backs. Back and run the football.
Gary
the football.
Kubiak.
Gary Kubiak. Run. That's what we worked with last year. Run the football. Yeah, snooze fest. We don't spend much time on there.
Yep.
We'll see how both these teams go. I mean, I think the football team, they are playing better than
they're
they
feisty.
should be. And they're playing for Ron Rivera, and I think if he makes it through, knock on wood, he's healthy and can coach that team for the next 5 years, they're going to be a team to deal with in the next couple years, for sure.
One last thing about the Washington football team. I was thinking about this the other day. Ron Rivera is, not to get too into the whole name change, it's already a beaten horse, but like I haven't heard this side of it before, but like Ron Rivera is part Native American. Did anybody ask him about this whole situation? What was his
we need to change the name. He was involved in the whole name process and everything. Yeah. He's run the show there. You know, I mean, that's
right. But that's what I felt like. It seemed like a no-brainer. Like, hey, we have an easy way to start to kind of figure. Like, let's ask the coach what he thinks. Like, I obviously he's not like living in a reserve or anything like that. But at the same time, he should have some opinion on it. I would think. So that should answer everybody's questions about it, whether they think the name change should have happened or not. Like, right there, like that, they put somebody in a position that is literally.
Yeah, Dan Snyder's a crap owner. Like, let's be real. Even Washington fans will not be mad at me when I say this. He is one of the worst owners in sports.
I think it's agreed. Yeah.
And he made two great decisions. Hiring Ron Rivera was a great decision. Giving him a lot of power, another great decision.
Yep.
And also, with that power, letting him have a seat at the table for all this drama, because he, as much as we like to, give him crap about what happened over in Carolina, stuff like that, he is a stern, he is a smart, he is a great football coach. And I, as a Broncos fan, would have loved to have him as my coach. I mean, we have Fangio, which he's kind of similar to him, and I can appreciate that. But you need that when you have a team full of kind of guys who are doing whatever the hell they want, get in trouble. And that's good for them. That's why I said give him 5 years if his health prevails. That team within the next couple of years is going to be competitors, guaranteed.
Yep. I mean, any coach that can take a team to a Super Bowl, there's something to be said about what they have to bring to the table.
Almost undefeated.
Correct.
If it wasn't for that one Falcons game, they would have went undefeated.
Correct. Okay, so last game before we get into Ray's rundown this week and catch up with all the other sports. Obviously, I want to take a minute to talk about the Steelers-Texans game because we haven't. And this game, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I will say this. I am concerned about the secondary. Very concerned. But that being said, the defense and the offense both turned it around in the second half. This was a game of two halves. I mean, it's very evident because the Texans didn't score another point the rest of the game. But the Steelers went into halftime, and credit to Tomlin and the rest of the coaching staff. They buckled down. They said, we can beat these guys, and they did. It wasn't pretty, but the Texans aren't a bad team. They're 0-3, but I'd look for them to finish a lot stronger than that. And they looked more like the Texans today than they have yet this year. But at the same time, I'm taking 3-0 for my team all day. And for as frustrating as I was with the secondary to start the game, and even some of the pressure on the QB, totally looked like a different team in the second half. It sucked losing Deontay Johnson early, but James Conner looks good again. I mean, the Steelers are running out like 5 different running backs right now. I don't even know what's going on, who's on the field at the time, but I'll take it as long as they keep producing. Like literally,
Who the hell is that? Is that a Watt brother? What the hell?
Yeah, well, actually, we have a Watt fullback. This was the ultimate, though. That's what I had. The one note I had about this game. This was the ultimate Watt family suck-off game. Like, dude, like we've been hearing about it all week. We have been like, I don't know if I mentioned it last. I think I did last show about the Watt brothers. And then the Edmonds brothers or whatever. So, like, obviously you heard that story 1,000 times. There's 1,000 pictures. We got their parents with, like, the triple, like, it was like a Texans logo with the Steelers logo as the eye. It's just like, we're doing too much here. Why don't the dad just wear, like, one and one, or, like, I don't know. But, like...
No, because then they'll be mad at one parent, dude. You just got to just rock it.
Anytime that they ran out of things to talk about on the broadcast, it was just like, did we mention that there's brothers in this game? And like,
his brother.
And also, this is the other thing I noticed today about Iron Eagle. His favorite thing, because he was Iron Eagle and Washburg was covering the game, and whoever the hell, I don't even fucking know who the broadcast team was, but Iron Eagle just kept referring to what his favorite thing is, just be like, and actually he said this yesterday when we talked to him. Like it was like the ultimate, like, let's quote the like the pregame, or the, what do you call that, the pre, like the broadcast, like interviews the player. It was like he quoted like 7 different times. Like usually they'll say 1 or 2, you know, just like something interesting. It was like every single time they're like, and this is exactly what he said, and they like, it just direct quote. It was direct quote day and suck off the Watts day, and rightfully so. Well, TJ Watt's really good.
Yeah, I think the Watt brothers are all really good. They're the best brothers. They're the best brothers in football. And actually, I found out watching that little pregame thing that Derek could be DJ, but refuses to be DJ. He's Derek John or something like that. He could be DJ if he wanted to, but refuses to go by DJ and just goes by Derek.
He's definitely the black sheep, like, of the family. Like, he was
on offense. Yeah. He's short.
He was just like he's like a fullback, like the forgotten position. The other guys are defensive superstars, and like he was probably like emo when he was a teenager or something. Like he was the weird one. They're like, "Fuck off, Derek!" Like, just
I want to bet that he was too busy with chicks to really work on the craft. Yeah, so that's why he's a fullback.
He's crushing puss. Yeah, he's like, just
getting ladies, or fellas, whatever he's into. But he's just getting left and right, and he's just like, whatever. I don't need this shit.
He's just wait,
I'm a fullback. Fuck.
All I do is lay the wood. Either it's on opposing defenders or the ladies.
I'm one step up from a long snapper, baby. What's up? You know,
Derek Jr. Watt. That's how I just imagine. Derek Jr. Watt.
Derek Jr. Watt.
So yeah, the dad could have worn JJ's jersey, and the mom could have worn TJ's, and nobody cares about Derek really.
Well, so for years and years and years, the Broncos had and the Kansas City Chiefs had the Cool Quit brothers, both punters, and they played against each other. And the parents always had the front and back, and they would switch. Like the mom would have Brenton, the Broncos, on the front, and then I can't remember the other, Dustin Cool Quit on the back, and
Steelers,
vice versa.
Current punter, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, the Cool Quit brothers are awesome punters.
Their dad was a punter. He won a Super Bowl with the Steelers.
And grandfather, probably.
Their grandpas. Their
grandpa.
Yeah, people forget that the Colquitt brothers' grandpa played in baseball back in the day.
Yeah.
They come from baseball genes, too.
Of course, here we go. Baseball. But yeah, I would say this about the game. I watched a bit of the Steelers-Texans game, and I took the Texans, and for a while I was like, you know what? I was right.
I thought I was going to eat crow today.
Except for one thing. I keep thinking they're playing well despite of their coach. Their coach, Bill O'Brien's the worst. I mean,
he's so bad.
He's a Browns coach. Like, literally, he's a coach that the Browns will hire and just who gives away games for them.
Yeah.
And, then doesn't take accountability for it. Like, it'd be different if he said, hey, you know, I messed up today. It was my fault. Oh, yes, we sold the best wide receiver, the best player in our franchise history for a ham sandwich. That's on me, but he didn't want to be here. He doesn't say that. He pretty much just is like, well, we got to do what's right for a football team. And bro,
acts like it's a noble cause.
What is, if I'm Watson, I'm looking at this guy like, what the hell are you doing? You get rid of my line for 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row now, get rid of the line, just constantly getting rid of these guys. And it's like, what do you expect me to do when I'm going against the Steelers? Not giving too much credit, but who have right now the best front seven. I mean, they're great up front. So what do you do? Like, I'm looking at my coach being like, bro, am I just supposed to die? Like, what do you want me to do?
He
Like,
got
how
leveled
much?
a few
Oh man,
times.
he got fucked up. He was when at running out of bounds, and they kind of like
Yeah,
I
that
thought he
was
was
Watt.
dead.
That
I
was
was like,
TJ Watt. He
he's
just
dead.
that
He's
was
dead.
I'm surprised that'll be a fine for sure. I'm surprised
Oh
it
yeah,
wasn't a flag. But that was one of those plays though, which I love the hit. I love those type of hits because if you're going to extend the play, then you should be like you're a threat to scoring and like moving the ball forward, even though you're like moving out of bounds, sure, and it end up being an incomplete pass. Like you're still a threat. Yeah.
What if you trick me?
It's like the ultimate Lamar Jackson. It's what I hate about Lamar Jackson when he does the like, oh, I'm going out of bounds and now I'm cutting it back in. That's why I would never feel bad if Lamar Jackson got smashed into a bench. Not because I hate the Ravens, but because like I hate that shit. Like if you're gonna start using this stuff that protects the quarterbacks as a part of your game to get an advantage over the defense, that's not what it's there for. It's there to keep you from getting injured. But coming back into the field of play, you're opening yourself up and you deserve to get your head smashed. Like that's bullshit.
I'll say this. I think that you should fight for every yard. Cam Newton, and honestly, the way the NFL is going with a lot of these running, there's going to be a lot of running quarterbacks. I mean, in our future, that's what we're going to see in the NFL is there's going to be a lot of guys who rush, who are quarterbacks, because that's the mold they want. It's working for some teams. And you're right. They should definitely be treated as running backs when they're running the ball. Now, I'll say this, though. When you get these slow-ass quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, these guys who take the ball and try to scramble, and then they get hit, and then everybody wants to, you have to treat every guy with the ball the same. I agree with you that we need to – these guys get smashed, they get smashed. I mean, that's
Throw it away. Throw it away. Nobody's telling you to roll out of the pocket. You have more than enough time.
Dude. And yes, they're hitting you. They're real men over there. They're not boys. They're coming to mess you up.
Speaking of old quarterbacks that are slow, Big Ben got robbed on a fucking sweet-ass third down run. Did you see it?
I did not.
You have to watch it. I'll send you a link because you would love it. It is like quintessential Big Ben play that you would love. His slow ass, it's 3rd and 3, gets flushed out of the pocket and just takes off, but then dives for like the final like 2 yards. And they call him down like half a yard short, even though every angle shows where the ball comes straight down and where his knee is. And they challenge it. Obviously, they blow the call. We end up getting the 4th down conversion, I believe. Or kicking the field goal. Something positive happened anyways, so it's going to be one of those forgotten plays. But he got totally screwed, and obviously I'm like mad just because if he's going to go out and sacrifice himself, like I want that shit to count. Like, but he's out there playing with the mission, so love to see that.
I love it. The only way I would love it is if pregame Ben Roethlisberger talked about having 2 torn ACLs and not being able to walk all week, and then goes out there and runs a 4.40. Because that's Ben. That's what Ben Roethlisberger is to me. He's that guy.
One of the Ian Eagle quotes was, and Big Ben told us he actually was looking forward to feeling some pain so that he could feel normal. After the first couple games, because they were saying basically he hadn't played in so long that he had to get his body reacclimated to being injured or whatever the fuck. Like you're just always sore. Quarterback, dude, it's a tough job.
He feels so good now because he actually worked out in the offseason. So it's like, listen, you keep talking about Ian Eagle. Joe Buck for me is the guy. It doesn't matter what game he's doing. He brings up. He did the World Series and brought up Tom Brady, and I was sitting there like, what the hell does Tom Brady have to do with the World Series right now? Like
everything.
Joe Buck, this is the wrong sport. Joe Buck is a Hall of Famer, and I like Joe Buck enough. I mean, he's a voice that we're always going to remember our entire lives. Mm-hmm. However, the Tom Brady love from him is gross. It's gross, and he brings up too much. But anyways, sidetrack there. Real quick, I'm going to give these real fast for you and see if you want to go. 49ers actually look good with no team. That's all we need to say about that. They look pretty good without having anybody being hurt.
Hey, actually, Nick Mullins is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm on record saying that. Okay, keep going.
There you go. They did good. The Vikings, 2-point conversion lost them the game. They went for 2, and they should have just kicked the field goal and went to overtime, but they shit the bed.
Goskowski can kick again. Jefferson's fucking welcome to the league, boy.
What the hell? What the hell? Oh, yeah, Jefferson. How does that work? But yeah, and then like I said, I think that we had a great week of football. We had our first tie, which is awesome because it was also like, how often do you think a quarterback gets a tie before he gets a win. Like I'm curious to that. If anybody wants to look that up, I don't want to look it up. If you want to look it up and send it to me, I think it's amazing. I don't know if that's
That
ever
might
happened.
be, unless it's probably some like no-name backup or something. Probably Tommy Maddox or something. But like the thing about, do you feel like there's more ties ever since they changed the rules to keep ties from happening? I feel like I've seen more ties in the past like 5 years than I have my entire life.
So they should treat it like hockey. Hockey just goes, unless it's playoffs. I think no, not playoffs. Somewhere they do shootouts, but in the playoffs,
Hockey they do shootouts, and then they do shootouts, and then I think in hockey there was talks. I don't know if they do it or there was talks about them. They do the power play, so then they just like. But in every quarter it goes down another player until basically just have one-on-one.
They'll play 20 overtimes, bro. Just get that win, and I think you can't have ties in football. Like what's less American than a tie? Like Americans don't believe in. That's why we don't love soccer here in America, and that's why hockey is the fourth sport, if you ask. Maybe even fifth behind NASCAR. Yeehaw! But
do you feel like the college format is better? Or do you feel like it'd be cheap for the NFL? Because I feel like it wouldn't feel right.
Honestly, you just keep playing. You just got to keep playing until there's a winner, and you got to let both teams. I do think you have to let the other team go. Yeah. So if you have to give both teams an option, but just keep going until somebody scores.
I think the biggest fear is injuries.
Yeah, go ahead. I would be opposed to making kickers earn their keep and just who can kick the longest field goal who wins the game. You know what I mean?
I would be okay with. I think the biggest fear is injuries, keeping the game going on longer and longer and longer. More fatigue, more likely a chance of injury, plus more time, so better chances of the probability goes up. Whatever. But I do think like at some point they should probably be like. I don't know. I guess this might even make it longer, but just like the kickers, maybe just like make them like. You can't kick a field goal. You just got to go for it on fourth down. You know what I mean? Like just go back and forth and just be like, if you have to score a touchdown to win or whatever. You know what I mean? No field goals, or I don't know how they would. I guess every time I try to like fix it in my brain, I come up with some rule that doesn't seem like football, because a big part of football is literally like orchestrating a drive and down the field to score, most of the time.
Well, see, what baseball did was baseball this year implemented it with their 60. They want to see how it worked out. Was if extra innings, they put a base runner on second. So every inning starts for the extra innings with a base runner on second, giving them more opportunity. So I think putting them in the red zone, putting each team in the red zone to start and see what they can do in 4 downs. Then switch over. We'll never solve it. There'll be ties, or eventually they'll get tired of this shit and change it, and then people will complain because, well, what about 5 years ago? My team would have won if these were the rules and blah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think that you pay, like my biggest thing is you pay kickers, and sometimes you don't use them, and sometimes you take them for granted. Make them earn their keep. Make it more valuable of a position. Hey, who do you Matt Prater's. As much as I like Brandon, Matt Prater is the best kicker right there with Tucker. He earned his keep. He won the game.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's how that guy won the game. If it was an overtime, same thing. Make your kicker win the game for you somehow. But anyways, last thing for football for me, unless you have anything else, is the Jets suck. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah,
Jets suck.
Hyperdrive didn't work. And also the Chargers almost had a sweet hook and lateral, but the fucking guy missed it. I always love seeing anything cool like that. I'm rooting for it. Like hook and lateral. Yes, we need that.
Yeah, Keenan Allen has to be pissed. Like I'm kicking his ass if I'm Keenan Allen. Like I'm fighting you. Like we're fighting, bro. Like we could have won that game, and you just wasn't paying attention. What the hell would you think I was going to run through 50 people? Like be smart. You weren't even trying to block for me. Like what the hell? Where were you going? Where were you going?
Do the old Gilbert Arenas in the locker room. Just pull your gun out on him.
What was that? Do you have anything else for football, man?
No, that's it. I'm excited for the game tomorrow. Chiefs Ravens. Hopefully, it's everything that it's being touted out to be, which it probably will be.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, let's go with this real quick. Let's do our pick 'em for. Who you taking? You don't want to say Baltimore, but you're taking Baltimore is what you're getting at?
I don't want to say Baltimore, so I'm picking the Chiefs.
Okay. I, as much as I don't like the Chiefs, I'm taking Baltimore. All right, man. That's stupid. So real quick, as we were talking, I kind of had my TV up here, and this is just so anybody knows we're recording this on Sunday afternoon, and looks like it's going to be the Miami Heat versus Los Angeles Lakers in the finale of the NBA Finals. So go Lakers. I think that Miami Heat is a tough team. They're well coached, as I like to keep saying, coach. But they're a well coached team and they have great players. However, they don't match up well against the Lakers. So I could be wrong. I think that they do have better guards than we have. But I mean, our big men are our guards. We got LeBron James and AD who are guards. And then you got AC Fresh, the GOAT, Alex Caruso. He's coming off the bench and playing like he looks like Elmer Fudd, but man, he can ball. Kusa, I mean, we just have too deep of a team. I call it this year when I have these arguments with people about the Clippers and all these other teams. I'm like, listen, you keep asking who's going to guard who, but who the hell is going to guard LeBron James?
Yeah.
Who the hell is going to guard AD?
Mm-hmm.
Kuzma's there. Rondo he's a point guard. He is a field general. And then you get guys like Dwight Howard for free. Like you pay him.
Yeah.
I mean, who can match up with us? That was what I said all year. And people are like, oh, look, they lost the game.
Right.
That's basketball. There's a lot of games they're going to lose. But there's, knock on wood, we have this in the bag. I hope we win this. I hope it's good. I love good basketball, so I actually wouldn't mind a longer series. I do unfortunately think it's not going to be. I think it's going to be a one-sided affair.
You're probably right. I do think that I don't hate the matchup though, because they are different style teams. Miami probably is better shooting wise than LA, but LA is more of a complete team. So like there is a possibility that, there are those games where Miami's just hot and they could steal a win here or there. And it's, if it turns into one of those series that they can still win and keep it close, anything can happen. I'm trying to talk myself into it, obviously. Yeah. But I think that if LeBron and AD just keep doing what they're doing, I don't really know how Miami's supposed to stop them. That being said, Miami hasn't been supposed to stop any of the teams they've played. So
they're playing good, man. They're playing good basketball.
They have all the momentum for sure right now. So
they haven't played a defense. Now, this is crazy to talk about in basketball because defense does not win championships. It wins in every sport except for basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it used to be different. Nowadays, but with that said, the Lakers' defense is better than anybody else's. They can take, like, they beat James Harden and Westbrook, and they made them, you know what I mean? They make them look weak. Yep. They make them look subpar. They make them look like they're not MVPs. They make them look like they're just dudes out there playing basketball. And with that said, that's how I look at it, because LeBron James can guard the little guys. I call them the little guys, but the guards, you know what I mean? He can guard the biggest guy on the court, and he can guard the littlest guy on the court. He plays good defense. Kuzma this year is playing great defense. We have a good defense team, and yes, we don't have the best shooting. However, we have some of the greatest shooters in basketball. Simple. I mean, Rondo is not going to make a bunch of threes, but when he takes them, he makes them. Kuzma is score-first guy who just happened to change his game to be a defensive guy. AD, enough said. That dude is a point guard until he graduated high school. He scores the ball. He can hit the three. I mean, he hit the three to win the game the other day and yells Kobe out, and that's a lot of that's a lot of motivation for them, is to win this for Kobe and his family.
Yeah,
it's a story that is destined to be broken and just not happen. But
then again, I don't know. Sometimes
happen.
This type of stuff does happen, though. I mean, look at like the Saints and Hurricane Katrina, and
right.
There's a ton of other examples that I can't think of right now. Yep.
The Yankees, and back Twin, the Mets, the Yankees doing really well after the Twin Towers. Like I said, you're right. You're definitely right. I'm just saying, I'm not going to be too optimistic or cocky. On paper, even during the playoffs, on paper, the Lakers have already beat the best basketball teams in in the playoffs. And that's just all I'm going to say. Now, the Heat, that's your team, I think, right? So our teams are going to each other, but the Heat, they're built to win later. We're built to win now, and they've definitely earned their shot to the finals. And this bubble has helped them get there. Without this bubble, they were not getting there.
Right.
So that's one thing. But yeah, it's not going to be. I think the Cinderella story's over. The Lakers should win this. Now, LeBron has kind of not him, but his teams have crumbled in the finals. The Heat and the Cavs.
Yeah.
They've done it consistently with him. So I'm not going to be super cocky or arrogant, but I will say that this is the year that they get back. They win it for Kobe. They win it for Gianna. They win it for Kobe's family, and it's going to be a good banner raising next year when everybody can be in the stands.
I will say this all about LeBron and like the whole Kobe narrative, and like obviously, no disrespect to Kobe or anything that's going to come out of this, but like LeBron is such a fucking cornball, and I cannot stand it. Like, dude, I can't. And I honestly like, I think there's something noble about the team playing for Kobe, and especially people that were directly influenced by him and had relationships with him. I don't think LeBron was one of those people. And
well, I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
I'm going to stop you real quick because so back in the day, if you could probably look it up if you want, but he's made mentions before when, I don't know if it was because MJ was kind of a dick to him, but he's made mention before about Kobe Bryant being more his hero than Michael Jordan. And just not only that, though, him coming to Lakers had a lot to do with Kobe and things. I mean, it's more than you think. Now, when they played, nobody liked Kobe Bryant when he played basketball. Everybody hated him. After basketball, like when he won his Academy Award and things like that, LeBron and him have been, and Carmelo Anthony, the three of them have been entangled in a lot of business ventures, charities, and things like that. More than people think. And then, like, Kobe helped him get set up in LA. There's a lot more to it. I agree with you that I think that it's like if this was Pau Gasol out there, it'd mean more. I will say that.
I feel like the LeBron Kobe thing is more of a fraternity type deal, like the fraternity of the Lakers. Like when LeBron decided to come to LA, obviously Kobe is a lifelong LA
Magic
dude, so he's like,
guys,
he's not going to be like fuck LeBron, and not act like, you know what I mean? Obviously gonna be like, welcome to the city. We got the dude, you know what I mean? And he's not an idiot. And I'm sure they do have a relationship. And I'm not speaking for LeBron or anything. I don't want to come off like that at all. I don't.
As hell about is what you're getting at.
Yeah, and when I see like this fucking picture of LeBron sitting with the mean mug face and the confetti falling and not done, and it's just like, dude, I just cannot. I always just feel like he's posing for a fucking picture or a headline and like that's why I just think he's a cornball. I think he is. I mean, he's the best basketball player arguably Kobe, but like, I've watched so much fucking LeBron. You know what I mean? Like, he's good. I would never deny that. I love watching him play. He's one of my favorite players ever, but he is so goddamn cheesy. And if he didn't have basketball, this dude would be like the guy. This is what I always say about LeBron. He would be that guy and like that doesn't fit into the friends group, but like is always trying to fit into the friends group, and like you kind of just let him tag along, or like, but he thinks he's involved, but he's not actually involved. So yes, I'm talking about you.
James the Ray of your group, like, is he the me of you guys' group?
It's exactly that. We're like,
I agree with you. LeBron James is awkward, and I actually had this conversation with my wife of all people, as weird as that is, because we want to root for him. And we want to root for like all the good he does off the court, but like he's so damn cheesy. And I treat it like Michael Jackson. I know it sounds weird, but like the guy's athletic talents were noticed pretty early in his life, so his childhood was kind of pretty much gone. So like his friends are all fellow athletes, fellow basketball players, which happens. But like this dude doesn't have any real, like the guy who does his sports agent or whatever. I can't remember his name, but
Rich Paul.
That's his friend, but their friendship is about money. And just like all the guys that he meets up with, that he played high school basketball with, like it's not friendships like, we grew up together. I mean, I've known you since you were a kid. You used to come over and play Mortal Kombat. Our mutual friend Brett and Al, we know these guys our whole lives. They're our friends.
Right.
But like LeBron, I don't think has that because none of his friendships have been built on friendship. They've been built on oh, you're an amazing athlete. Like, oh, I'm gonna hitch my my wagon to your truck right now. We're gonna go around town. But that's it. That's why he's awkward and weird because he doesn't have any real friends. His kids are weird as hell too. I mean, they post weird shit all the time. It's like, God damn,
Bro,
these kids
Bronny
are
Jr.'s
you
is blazing
should.
up. He's
Oh,
like, I'm gonna
he's
get
a
cool. I'm
listen.
gonna get cool with peer
LeBron James
pressure.
looks like that black dad that will whoop you with the belt. You know all those memes you see with his hairline and that cigarette right there and the
Yeah,
hat. He's like,
like
man,
the
I'm a piece
Samuel
of shit.
Jackson, like
Yeah,
Black Snake
man.
Moan meme.
Yeah, like he looks like that dude. Like he doesn't play. Basically you sneeze to him, motherfucker. What you say?
Bro,
Right?
it's gonna be
Barney
hilarious
doesn't watch
when
out.
LeBron has like that old man like white fro that's like a reverse
Right.
mohawk, like
Like just the one.
literally the
I think
Uncle
he's gonna
Drew.
give up. He's gonna give up soon and just shave it. He's got to.
I think the
He's
only
got to
reason
keep
he's
it
holding
shaved.
on is because of the MJ comparisons. Like he's like, I cannot be full bald. Like if I'm full bald, then there's like nothing separating us.
I keep them separate. I always say this because it's hard, just like in football, it's hard to really say who's the greatest
Yep.
because there's nobody who's the. Because next week there might be a kid in third grade who's going to be the greatest when we're old. But I'll say this: LeBron James is the greatest athlete to ever play basketball. Michael Jordan is probably the best overall, like all around player, and Kobe Bryant is just the best. Like he to me is just the best entertainer. Like I made my daughter watch a couple games when she was real little, even though she probably will never remember it. Because I'm just like, listen, you'll never see this where he's getting guarded by 3 and 4 guys, and just I mean, it's ball hog, whatever you want to call it, and he just like looks, smiles, and just throws it up. Like he's just the best shooter. He's just the hardest worker. His work ethic is. I mean, I have a hard time getting out of bed at 8 o'clock to go to work. This dude was up at 4 shooting 100 free throws before practice, and then shooting thousands of shots a day, and that was just Kobe. And I mean, they got to do they just got to do it for him.
Do it
That's
for
all I really
Kobe.
have to say about that. They got to do it for Kobe, and they
Right.
have to. This year they have to. 2020 fucking sucks.
Right.
We have to make something from it, and it has to be do it for Kobe.
You're right. You're right.
That's all about basketball. I mean, I think we're in for a good finals, and that's all I have to say there. So, real quick, I'm going to make a big left turn to my favorite sport is MMA. Did you happen to see any of the clips of the fights?
Yeah, I caught a very interesting one, and it's not
What
good.
clip did you happen to watch?
It was one that looked like a man was thrusting another man, and it didn't look like the man was accepting of the thrust, but the man with the thrust was having his way with the other man.
Yes. So I was wrong a little bit. I said Izzy would win by decision because he didn't have the power, and he didn't have the power. I would say it's just like the Diaz brothers, just build up, just keep smacking around. I mean, I'm just gonna not say for work here. He fucked him up. Like he beat his ass. He kicked him in the leg a couple times, and you could literally see every spot he kicked him just going down his leg. It was just like foot. You could just see the feet just going down. But yeah, then he kind of hit him with a good combo and just put him down, and then just went down and started cranking elbows on him. And as soon as the ref stopped him, he humped him. He threw a hump on him, then started saying some corny ass shit. Like Izzy is so corny. You talk about LeBron being corny. Izzy was like, "You guys need to be more salty." Like he is so damn corny, but he's the best.
The
fighter.
disrespect,
I mean,
though, man. The disrespect, what do you just like? What do you
humped
even?
another man. Like, you humped
but
him.
what do
after
you
knocked him
do
out.
if you're the man that is humped? Like, where do you go from here? Like that man just
you got
made
your ass kicked.
your hit. You got to get his name tattooed on you. Like you're
Paul
his.
Costa, here's my problem with him. So I watched it. I don't know if he was scared. I don't know. Like that dude. Here's what I thought was going to happen.
He thought for a second he was going to be raped. So yes, he was scared.
Well, besides the rape, by Izzy. So during the fight, I projected it to go like round one, just Paul Costa just comes in swinging, just trying to. That's what he does. He wants to kill you the first round, and then Izzy was going to weather the storms and kind of just take him out, John Jones him as I call it. Let you have the first 2 rounds, and I'm just going to take the rest of them. That's not how it went. Paul Costa was literally took one leg kick and was done. He didn't want any more. He kept coming forward and just getting. I realistically, he didn't land one significant strike that made a difference in the fight. Like there was no punch, kick, anything that was like, man, oh, he's gonna. There was just nothing that happened. And with that said, there's no middleweights right now that can compete against Izzy. It's just, I mean, I don't even know what's next for him other than Ratlip.
Charges, assault charges.
Yeah,
And
assault
Rattler.
charges. Yes, yes. I mean, definitely assault charges, and he needs to go to Cornball Academy with LeBron. Stop saying dumb shit. That is just so corny. You're a fighter. Like, I mean, listen, our buddy Cody from hometown, he says some corny ass shit too, and it's like I don't know if that's part of being a fighter, just to say corny ass shit. And sometimes it sticks. Like the one thing he said, Mac Truck doesn't worry about a pebble is what Cody G said one time. I've used that on my daily conversation now just to be a dick. But usually it's really corny, and now Izzy can tell people like, "Yeah, I humped him."
Well,
like when he was down, I humped him, and that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
when you're talking about professional athletes, it's not a requirement to be well spoken or to be entertaining in that aspect, and that's why you have the guys like McGregor that can sell these fights for way more than they ever would sell without an entertainer like him. But it's tricky whenever you're in the entertainment business. Well, when you're in professional sports, that if you say too much and you don't back it up, and that's always a possibility in any professional sport, that, even if you are the best, anything can happen, and so if you have enough of those instances, it does work. It does more bad for you than it does good for you sometimes. So it's better to just, not focus on that aspect of like, hey, I should be a WWE guy on the mic, Those dudes don't get like that overnight.
I'm a fan of WWE. Like, that's my thing. I like wrestling. And these dudes are corny, and they practice. Like, that's the key you have to think about. They practice this, and they're still corny sometimes.
You didn't know?
You did. Yeah, I mean, like, your ass better call somebody. Your ass better hide because I'm going to rape you, according to Izzy. But anyways, I think that if you're going to do it, like, Conor McGregor definitely has somebody help. He practices in the mirror. You know what I mean? Like, he's talking in the mirror to somebody, and he's working. And these guys, they're entertainers, man. They're contractors of the UFC. They're not even employees of the UFC. They're contractors. And I mean, as a casual fan, I'm more of an avid fan. You're a casual fan. And you know that the guys who get there don't even deserve to be there. But the guys Conor McGregor's on like 3-fight losing streak. But you know him. And if he had a fight, you'd probably watch it.
Yep.
Right? The Diaz brothers, I love the Diaz brothers.
Yeah.
They're not the best in the world. They're better than me. They're better than most people I watch or know, but they're not. But they're losers. Like, they're losing nonstop. Their records are 50%. But we know them because they're putting out there. Speaking of guys who just kind of are lame, the light heavyweight championship fight was also that day, and I was wrong about that. I've been wrong a lot on the first. I need to get my research better, I think. Let's see if I can say it. Jan Blachowicz. I messed it up, I think.
Sounded perfect.
Yeah, but it was Jan. I'm just gonna say Jan. The Polish power is real, man. He beat the shit out of Dominic Reyes. Like, I don't know if Dominic Reyes just didn't take him seriously, but he, similar to the Izzy fight, there was just it was so one-sided. He beat the shit out of him. Like, I don't know. Reyes probably won't ever fight again. I'll say this about Reyes. He switched camps, and he actually went back to having his brother be his head coach, and I think that might have had something to do with it because he had no game plan coming in. It was not good for him. He got his ass kicked. It was a good card overall. There was a couple good fights, couple boring fights, but yeah, the 2 championship fights did not go exactly how I thought they would go. I knew Izzy would win, just not like that. And Jan, he called out John Jones after, but John Jones is mooing up. He's fighting heavyweights now. He doesn't want to cut weight anymore. He's getting older. He's done cutting weight. He wants to see what he can do up there, but Jan's the man. We'll see who he's got. There's a lot of guys he could challenge for. So, but yep, that's it for Ray's MMA talk right now. Yeah. So real quick, I just want to talk about. We mentioned injuries so much the last episode that I want to go over them again. There was nothing crazy. It's kind of going down, so maybe they're evening out now. The one big one was Tariq Cohen. He got paid and towards ACL, MCL. Damn. Doesn't look good. Dallas Goddard, he's going to be out for a couple weeks, but realistically, there was just normal injuries, Unfortunately, Russell Cage was on my fantasy team and hit his head, but other than that, man, everybody else was just hammies, groins, things like that. They'll be out for the rest of the game. They were out for the rest of the game, and they're going to be back next week probably.
Yeah, it's good sign. It's good to see that the sticky turf didn't have the sticky side effects this week. So it's encouraging to see that the injuries have gone down. That was a big topic on our last show, and I agree. It's refreshing. Let's hope that we can continue this trend. And that was just the anomaly week that's happens every single season, where it just seems like the sky's falling and the league has gotten too intense. But I'm just gonna wrap this up. Thanks for listening to me and Ray ramble here, and if you haven't, look us up on Facebook, Schwen Sports. Join our group, Schwen Sports Group. We'll be around there talking. It's a great place to get caught up on all the news, hear a bunch of idiots talk about nothing, and ask us stuff. If you got any suggestions, fantasy advice, whatever you'd like to hear on the next show, let us know, and we'll be sure to make a note of it. Until next time, later.
Later, guys.